Barak Yahawah, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rawchaa Qadash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is the fourth beast. And as you can see, the fourth is written in Roman numerals. And I didn't even think of it that way, you know, dealing with the Roman Empire, which they spoke Latin and Greek. I didn't even think of the Roman numerals in that in that way, but that's the spirit, you know. So pretty much this is the fourth beast. Let's go see a few words on it and see where the spirit leads, and just go from there. So it says here, Daniel is the key to unlocking the prophecies of Revelation. And this is just something I found, you know, in the images that I felt was, you know, good for this lesson. And when you do read the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, they do go hand in hand, you know. So it's possible, you know, that Daniel and the Apostle John are the same spirit, both great men, you know. But nevertheless, you know, the prophecies are similar. They're just using different signs and symbolisms to portray it. So we're going to start off in the book of Daniel 7, which Daniel 7 is pretty much the world empires, the major world empires that would be ruling on the planet prior to Yahawashi coming on the scene to take all of those different empires down. Because once the fourth empire would be in place, the next empire would be Yahawashi's empire / Yasha'Allah's empire, you know. And we know that we're in the time of the fourth empire. Even the so-called scholars, they know that, you know, that Rome was the fourth empire. So if that's the case, then why isn't Yahawashi's kingdom here yet? Well, because there was an interruption, and the book of Revelation, even though the book of Daniel kind of touched on it, the book of Revelation went further into explaining why, you know, this happened, why there was an interruption, and then why it would continue on in the future. And when it would continue on in the future, it will continue on in the same footsteps as the ancient fourth beast prior to them, meaning the Roman Empire. And if you can't see that by now, well, that scripture in 2nd Ezra 11, that's not talking about today. You know, that's talking about the Roman Empire. So I don't know if that's why you put it up there, bro. Maybe that's why you put it up there, which is dealing with the Roman Empire, because it has nothing to do with America. So I believe that's why you put it up, because of Rome. So it says pretty much, you know, so these empires, you know, would have to fall. So the last empire would be the fourth empire, which would be the Roman Empire, that would be set up in place. And once that empire fell, that's when the kingdom of heaven would be established. All right. So Daniel 7:17 says, these great beasts which are four kings, which shall arise out of the sea, out of the earth. And when you go back to the beginning of the chapter, when the Lord gave the vision to Daniel, he made these empires appear as beasts. He actually saw beasts that looked like all of those different things. Ancient, okay, brother. Yep. I figured that. You know, I figured that, my brother. And he gave like animalistic figure, but he actually saw actual beasts rising out of the sea, and one in succession after the other, after the other, after the other. It says, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. All right. And pretty much, you know, this is the point when all of these major empires fall, that the empire of our Lord Yahawashi will be established, because it's his kingdom and we're just joint heirs with him, you know. It says, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast. So now when Daniel saw the fourth beast and he saw everything that the fourth beast did, he was curious to know what was going on and what this represented, because he saw all of those beasts being taken down by the following beast, and by the time it got to the fourth, he had taken down all of the other ones. Right? It says which was diverse from all others, and the diversity comes in the way that they would set up their rulers, because in ancient times, rulerships were set up as monarchs. A monarch is a king ruling, and his son or sons being heirs to the throne. So they would rule, family-wise, But when the Roman Empire came into place, they pretty much would set up their leaders or rulers, as, or the people, so-called, would elect them, into office. All right, which the ancient empires didn't do that. All right, and even the whole Senate system that they have, the Edomite Romans, they got a good portion of that, if not the majority of it and all of it, or if not all of it, the majority of it they got from the Etruscans, which were the original peoples of those lands, were brown-skinned people. They were from the seed of Japhet. Japhet was not white. Japhet are not the so-called white people. Japhet are brown-skinned people, which today predominantly would be classified as the Aborigines of Australia, and mainly the so-called Polynesian people. All right, those would be the seed of Japhet. So that's how it was diverse in the succession of kings, which they weren't kings even though they were rulers. It says, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue of his feet, and that came by the force of his military and the weaponry that the Lord had gave them. This is why they were compared to iron. And iron is not as precious as gold or silver or brass and those other metals, but it's far stronger. And that's why it was given to them, because through the Greeks and the Romans, pretty much the Lord would establish Esau's, especially through the Romans, the Lord would establish Esau's blessing, which was the sword. And the blessing of the sword gave them the power to take, over the whole world. Okay? And of the 10 horns that were upon his head, the 10 horns represent today the 10 Common Market, or the European Union, which started off as 6, branched off into 12. The Capitol building was set up and established, and according to a source, there were 10 flagpoles erected in the front of it. And when you look at the original 12, the 6 and the other 6, there was really 10 altogether. When you look at the UK, which is United Kingdom, is England and Ireland, and then when you look at Spain and Portugal, they're really together, but they're separate. It says, and of the other which came up. Now the other which came up would be America, and this is why I said that the book of Daniel gave hint or clue as to the fall and rising up again of this kingdom, but it didn't really go into detail. And that's what this other horn is all about, which would make it the 11th horn. And when you read the book of Revelation 17, it would make it the 8th head, because it always spoke about a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. But here it is, you got an 11th horn, and then in the book of Revelation you got an 8th head, which came from the 7, all 7 of them. It says, and before whom 3 fell, right? The 3 that fell, these were the wars that were fought, that America fought to gain control of, so-called America, which was the, against the French, against the Spanish, and against the British. Those are the other 3 heads that America fought against. Even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth spake very great things. Yeah, because they do have wisdom. They are wiser than Daniel. They're wiser than Daniel, right? It says, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And this look being more stout than his fellows, they look down upon other so-called European nations. You see? And this is why you have some of those same nations that are in league with America making backroom deals, or not even backroom deals anymore, just straight out, making deals with nations that America is not friendly with, because they're pretty much tired of getting, the short end of the stick all the time. Because America make a move and they're forced to back America, but the ones that suffer are the ones that are backing them. When this whole situation went down with America putting sanctions on Russia, who was the main ones to suffer? Yeah, the American people did suffer to a certain degree, but not like those European nations. And America pretty much looks down upon them. They don't really give a fuck about them. They're just using them for their military might and whatever they could use them for, even though they're all the same people. It's crazy, but that's how the devil does. It says, I beheld the same horn, made war with the saints, and prevailed against them. And this is one of the besides the other horn, the little horn that came up, this is also more proof that it was talking about in the future. Now, when the Romans did come into power, they did make war against the saints, specifically and more directly would be 70 AD, but all throughout, even though the Roman Empire allowed Jake, to keep their law, statutes, and commandments, and, pretty much maintain normal Israelite customs, among ourselves, we still were tributary to the Roman Empire. All right. But then around 66 AD, when the fulfillment of, the abomination that maketh desolate came into play, as the brother just put up. Let me read this real quick. Matthew 11 and 12. From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Right. And back then they were catching hell, and then 166 AD rolled in, they really started catching hell. And then specifically 70 AD was the cutoff point where Jake really suffered, a great deal. Now, when we bring this prophecy here up to date in the book of Revelation 17, let's go to Revelation 17. Revelation 17, it says here the doom of Babylon, but in this case, America, or Babylon the Great, is identified as a whore. Now, what is a whore? A whore is a woman that lays down with men for gain, for benefits. And that's pretty much what America has done. They've pressed their philosophies, specifically democracy, upon these nations, and made these nations a drink of it, and all of these nations got down with it, but they found out that after it settled, it was bitter, and they didn't like it. That's why I said the nations have drunk, and therefore the nations are mad. Right? So when we deal with this whore, let's read the first verse. And there came out one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Right? So this great whore that sitteth upon many waters, the many waters are peoples and nations and tongues. And you can read the 15th verse for that. But the great whore, it tells you when we jump down to the 18th verse, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And this doesn't fit anyone else but America, because they'll say, well, America is not a city. Vatican City is a city, and they rule over the earth. No, they don't, because all nations are not conformed to the Roman Catholic ways. But the nations of the world are conformed to America. That's why everybody wants to be like America. Why do you think you have, places that nobody's ever heard of, having rappers, here it is, there's garbage everywhere, shit is all destitute, they living in shacks, but they still rapping. You have other major cities around the world acting just like so-called Americans. You know, setting up businesses like America, you know, doing the mannerisms of America, because this is that great city. It's a great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. You know, and a city, according to Esau, is only, you know, so many square feet or so many miles, but a city is as big as its citizens, you know. And when you are an American, no matter where you go, you are still, even if, no matter what state you're from, no matter what city or town or whatever you're from, you're still an American citizen, a U.S. citizen. The word citizen goes back to city. So this great city is America, and they reign over the kings of the earth. Now, when we jump up to the 6th verse, which this 6th verse goes hand in hand with Daniel 7, what we read, Daniel 17:6, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. Right. And this happened when they came here, they took down Gad, you know, they destroyed, you know, Gad, Reuben, Issachar, all of the tribes, you know, from North America, from Canada all the way down to South America, and specifically here in America. Because here they brought Judah, Benjamin, Levi, you know, they brought hell upon them, you know. So the woman was drunken with the blood of the saints, and they had no problem with it, you know, which goes hand in hand with what we read in Daniel 7, that little horn made war and prevailed against them. Why? Because it was prophecy. 70 AD was prophecy, and the transatlantic slave trade was prophecy. The stealing of Gad's land and destroying them was prophecy. So on and so forth. So going back, it says, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahawashi, yeah, because you still have the witnesses of Yahawashi here, because everybody was brought to America. This is why you had men waking up and teaching about what we know right now, what we're teaching right now, because these were witnesses of the Lord from back then, the prophets being revived. Again, Elijah and St. John, you know, the Revelator, you know, the Apostle John, you know, Peter, so on and so forth. It says, and when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Why? Because she had this look about her. And I just recently found out that I forgot what the Apostle Gabar called it, Elder Apostle Gabar called it, but it's a term that these musicians have, you know, when they're just like on a musical high, and they pretty much do a song and it just comes out. They don't write it down, they don't, you know, practice, it just comes out, you know. So he did I believe it was the Guess Who, which did the song American Woman, and that's pretty much what came out of that. And pretty much it was all about America, you know, how she has those colored lights, how they hypnotize people, you know, how the women are pretty much scantily dressed, you know, and the whole experience of America brought about that song. And when they did it, they didn't write it down, they recorded it. I'm sorry, they didn't even record it, they just performed it, and somebody happened to be in the audience that recorded it, and they were able to get in touch with them to get the stuff off of the recording and to do the song again. You see, other than that, it would have been gone. So this is why he looked at it with great admiration, because they have a spell over people. It says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her. Right, the woman, the whore, is America. The beast carrying her is a beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns, dealing with, you know, no, it's not improvisation. Improvisation is good, but it's another musical term that they have, where when that whole situation happens. I just don't know it right now. But improvisation is a good word. It says, which have the 7 heads and 10 horns. Right, so the beast that carrieth her with the 7 heads and 10 horns, that represents the European Union. You know, it represents the whole beast system is NATO, you know, including America. But the 7 heads represents the 7 major empires of Esau, beginning with the Greeks and ending with the British. You know, and there were others that were part of it. Then America is the 8th head that came out of all 7 of those. You know, and the beast, which is Europe, the European Union, and also the NATO, they're pretty much carrying America on their back. You see, but they're the ones suffering all of the antics, or they're suffering the backlash of the actions of America. The beast that thou sawest was and is not. Why? Because this particular beast that thou sawest, this was America. This is the same little horn in Daniel 7. This is the 8th head in the same book we're reading. And the reason why he saw it, because he saw it in a vision. Was where? In the vision, and is not, because it wasn't time for America to come yet. But that was something in the future. This didn't happen during the time of the Roman Empire. The vision happened during the time of the Roman Empire, but the actual, prophecy itself would not happen to thousands of years later. And that's the heavy thing about prophecy. And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit is Europe. Because lands are classified as pits in the scriptures. And the reason why it's bottomless, because you really don't grow all of your necessary, foods and different things that you need to survive. This is why there's a lot of importing of, spices and other, fruits, vegetables, and things of that nature, and staples that they need, that they can't grow there. All right? And we know we've done lessons on that. And go into perdition. Perdition means destruction. So when America was set up and established, they fought so valiantly to be what? To be destroyed eventually. And eventually they would be destroyed. It says, and they shall dwell, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. Wonder who? Wonder after the beast. They'll be captivated by the antics of America, and by the promises, and by that allure, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. So you have Israelites, even Israelites out there, that are caught in this web, and they can't get out of it because they were set up and established to be destroyed. So they had to follow that alluring scent, so to speak, and they're captivated by it. Because that was one of the things that would happen. Through the great deception of America being established through the Renaissance period, they would have a great impression and a great, draw, against people. And the only ones that would not be deceived would be the elect. And even the elect at one time were caught in the web until the Lord woke them up. It says, when they behold the beast that was and is not, and yet is, right, because once it came into power, the first thing was deception. They established themselves, as the so-called 13 colonies. They stole this land, the rest. They established a system of law that mirrored the system of law of ancient Rome. So everything that they did and done and are doing is all based off of those principles, which would be considered the image of the beast in Revelation 13. It says, and here's the mind which hath wisdom. So the Lord is going to break it down for St. John the Apostle. It says the 7 heads are 7 mountains, right? Which 7 heads are 7 mountains, meaning 7 governments on which the woman sitteth. Because America is on top of that, because America is the 8th. And she came out of those 7. And there are 7 kings, right? In other words, 7 rulerships. And those rulerships consist of the Greeks, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and the British. Those are 7, right? It says, so the 5 that are fallen, right? You had the Greek Empire, you had the French, the Spanish, Germania Major and Germania Minor. They were under, the major ones were under the Roman rule at that time, and they were making deals with Rome. It says, and one is, and the one that is was who? The Roman Empire that was in place. And that would be what? 6. It says, and the other is not yet come, because the other one would come later on in the future, which that would be the British Empire. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space, because they did have rulership. They did become and establish themselves as a great empire, but that rulership pretty much would go down, because America would take their place as far as the economic or the world reserve currency. And the world reserve currency took place in a meeting called the Bretton Woods, in Bretton Woods. I forgot if that was Rhode Island, and pretty much that is what established back in 1944. It established the American dollar as the world reserve currency. And when the world reserve currency of America came into power, that's pretty much when she became even more elevated, and more nations started flowing to her, because now she was the one that made all these nations rich. It says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth. Right, that beast that was and is not, which was in his vision, but it wasn't at that time, was America. Even he is the eighth, because it had 8 heads. And when this 8th head came up, it was going to come up for destruction. And when that 8th head came up, then we would know that we would be at the end of this thing. And this is why it's important to understand this history, so that you could understand that why the beast was wounded, the head of the beast was wounded, but then it came back to life, so to speak. And when it came back to life, it started to take on all of the same powers of the old beast, which was Rome. It says, and is of the 7, right? So it's of all 7 of them, and goeth into perdition, meaning destruction. And that's the very reason why America was set up and established to be destroyed. Pretty much to push, to push that agenda of America on the world, make them partake of that cup full of abominations, which begins with their democracy and other stuff, but the democracy is the one of the main things, and then they have, you have many other things that stem from that, like the whole transmission agenda and, and all of that other stuff. But that democracy is what these nations bought. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, right? And the 10 represents the European Union. All right, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast, right? And they did receive power, and they're still in power right now, but they're on borrowed time, so to speak. These have one mind, because they're moving everything into a one world government, right? But what they're seeing, that America's spearheading this, that America's getting the benefits, but they're not. They're suffering the casualty, and America's getting the benefits, and they're not seeing any of those benefits. That's why some of them are rebelling, against some of those agreements. And shall give their power and strength unto the beast, right? So they gave all of that, they came into one mind, right? These shall make war with the land, because their armies and the militaries are prepared. See, the grassroots peoples of these militaries, they don't know what the hell's going on. They really don't understand what's going on. But the higher ups, the higher up you go in the food chain, so to speak, the more you understand. They know what's going on. They know that they're preparing themselves to fight against Yahawashi and the angels, because they know that it's inevitable, but that the Lord is going to crack them clouds. And if they didn't know then by reading the Bible, they know now because of the prophets. It says, and the Lamb shall overcome them. It's going to be easy work, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Right, that's the angels. It says, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, which we show you that the woman sat upon these. All right. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. See, so they're going to hate the whore. The same way they gave all their energy and strength and power to America, they're going to use that same energy and fight against America. Why? Because her look was more stout than their fellows. So in other words, she used her allies to get what she wanted, but she didn't show any favor in return. That's why they're suffering, and she's not, as they are. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Yeah, because they're eventually going to shoot their nukes on America. Because, we see we see everything happening and playing out right in plain sight. We're seeing why they, not only do we know and understand through the spirit and power of Yahawah Sham through the Holy Spirit, the Qadash, that this is so, we're also seeing on the world stage why this is going to happen and why it's happening and how America's treating these other nations and not giving them their just due. It says, for the Most High hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, unto the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled, because it's all about the fulfillment of prophecy. So going back to Daniel 7 and 21, I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them until the Ancient of Days came. Right, so they had power and dominion over us. So there's nothing that we could do. We had to go to this man for the one of all things. And there's nothing we could do to get from under their hands until the Lord comes back, until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. So until then, we're not going to receive, salvation, reparation, and any of those things. Because true reparations are not amounted just in dollar signs. And dollars is bullshit. Is first and foremost getting revenge on those that did wrong to us, having them in captivity, making them suffer what we suffered, and taking their riches that really rightly belong to us. The scriptures say that according to their substance shall the restitution be. So that's true reparation. Not what Jake out there is talking about, getting a couple of $100 million or $1 billion. That's they can snap their finger overnight and them dollars can be worthless. Now, if you have slaves, if you have, gold, silver, land, now you're talking about, real reparations, So it says, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms and shall devour the whole earth, right? And they did devour the whole earth, not as a Roman Empire, although the Roman Empire conquered the known world. But when the little horn comes in, which is a revival of the ancient Roman Empire of America, then they're going to devour the whole earth. And we see it happen. And who's really ruling? The Edomites are ruling, but what faction of Edomites are ruling? Well, the so-called America is ruling over all the world, being run in the background by the puppet master, the international banking families. It says, and the 10 horns out of the kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, right? Which were the 10 common market. I'm sorry, the EU, common market. And another shall arise after them. That other that shall arise after them would be America. And he shall be diverse from the first, and shall subdue 3 kings, right? And those are the 3 major nations that fought wars against America, and America won, quote unquote, to get hold of this whole landmass. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. And we see that happening even to this day. And think to change times and laws, and they've done that. Because they got the laws, statutes, and commandments. They got the Bible, but they ain't following it. It says, and they shall be given into his hand unto the time and times and the dividing of times, which that time and times and the dividing of times represented 350 years. And what happened, from the time the bulk of the slaves were brought here until around 1969, 1970, that's when the reawakening started happening. And this is around the time when America started to dwindle and fall as that superpower. Superpower don't fall overnight. The Lord is slowly but surely hacking away at this kingdom. The worm is spread under thee. It says, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand unto the time and times of the dividing of time. And then that's when the Israelites started waking back up through a man by the name of Elder Abba Bivens. Okay? No, sir. No, that 1 hour, the 1 hour is 41 years, almost 42 years, 41.6 years. And it's not talking about the fall of the Soviet Union. That was talking about, you know, the 50 year of NATO back in 1999. You know, so, I'm sorry, not NATO. That was the European Union. That back in 1998, I believe it was, with their 1999, almost into 2000. That's when the hour was up. And now, right now, we're at the point of the demise. This is why right now we're witnessing the clay, the feet of clay and iron, or should I say the toes of clay and iron, the iron not mixed with the clay, meaning dealing with their financial. Some of these European nations are financially strong and some of them are financially weak. All right, it says, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion and consume, and to consume and to destroy it unto the end. Right, and then the judgment is that this place will be destroyed. This is why we're witnessing the destructuring of America. Everyone pulling away from the dollar. Why? Because this place is finished. They see it spiraling and circling the drain, and eventually it's going to be destroyed. It says, and the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. All right, and this is what we're waiting for. So once this fourth kingdom falls, we know that the kingdom of heaven is right there. This is how we know that the ancient Roman Empire wasn't the end of it, because the kingdom of heaven would have been already on the earth. This is how we know that them small hats are not the people, because they claimed that back in 1948 they were brought back to the land. Yet there's still wars, there's still all kind of madness going on the earth. There's no peace on the earth, and the Lord, the Messiah, is not here. Yahawashi is not here. So that's many different reasons why we know that they're not the people. All right. So pretty much this has been the fourth beast. I pray that you brothers and sisters have been edified. To the next time I say shalom.